Hey, what's up, everybody? This is your boy Kenny, and this is Unsung Season 10, and this is an episode on one of my favorite girl groups of all time, and it's, the name of that group is SWV, Sisters with Voices. Man, I truly enjoyed this episode. I mean, it definitely gave me a trip back down memory lane because, I was a child that was born in the 80s but grew up in the 90s, so therefore SWV was definitely a part of my upbringing. And they were like the, Diana Ross and the Supremes of our generation. And they spoke to us because they looked like us. They represented, the children that grew up in hip hop, that grew up, with swag, that grew up with a certain demeanor of urban life and urban fashion. And they really had a signature look that has transcended even this present day. Like, they were definitely trendsetters, and not just in their music, but also in their look. And to this day, they are still like a group that people flock to go see. I mean, these women are powerfully talented. You got, the voice, Cheryl Coco Gamble, man. Coco's my girl, but I love all three of them equally. Tamara Taj Johnson definitely does her thing, and definitely my heart, Lily, Leanne Lyons. I mean, the three of them as a trio really have something magic, like it's ordained by God. And then when their voices come together, they've created a mass base that, even though they never really got the mainstream acceptance that they deserved, and that even though they were nominated for for a lot of awards, including Grammys, they never won anything, which unfortunately, just shows you how mainstream really didn't get, what we got from them, like that they were like one of the best groups out there, and they could rival anybody, and they were hardcore with it. And even to this day, I still listen to their music. I mean, my favorite track off their debut album was Always on My Mind. That was my song. It's still my song to this day. Even then when I would hear that song, it would just take me somewhere. And I'm definitely a big fan of them. And, just me paying homage to how great SWV is. And I know that they have a lot of fans out there, and they're definitely a part of our lives. And it's great that even after all the heartache and hardship that they went through, that they have come together, and yet they are still a force to be reckoned with to this day. They've released 2 albums, and they're going strong. And it's beautiful to see that no matter how bad things may get, God always can change things for the better. Well, SWV, known as Sisters with Voices, has like 9 top 20 hits and has sold 25 million albums, worldwide. So they definitely were a group that really made a major impact in the music industry, and were, as again, trendsetters in the music industry. And even Kelly Rowland even said that they can go down in history as like the Supremes of the 90s, because they were unique, and they had their own look, and they had their own sound, and there was nobody out there that could touch them. And that indeed was true. And the great thing about it, as I said before, like, they had a sound, but then they also had a look. And their look and their sound just blew you away, because they had a unique look, but then yet their sound, as the three of them being powerful vocalists, come together to create harmony, just blew everybody away that ever came across them. Well, pretty much all 3 of them are from the Bronx. The one they focused on first was Lily. She was definitely influenced in music by an early age. Both of her parents were really into music. She said one of the things that inspired her was watching Shanice Wilson on Star Search. And I even remember seeing that clip years ago. I mean, definitely hearing Shanice having that powerful voice at that early age would definitely inspire a lot of people. And it inspired Lily, so that was pretty awesome. She said seeing her on Star Search let her believe that she could do the same herself one day. Sadly, her parents divorced, and it kind of led her down, a rough path because her mother, was now the sole breadwinner, and she had to defend for the family. So they really reached hard times, and she said that it led to her to be, kind of like pretty much she had to grow up pretty fast, and it made her it made her grow up too fast because she said she ended up when she was a teenager, she moved in with a boyfriend, and she ended up having 2 kids at 17. So she was dealt with reality at a very early age, but was able to manage to persevere no matter the circumstances. So I definitely got that from SWV, that these were women who were dealt with hardships, but were able to persevere no matter how bad things became, they still pressed forward. And that was definitely inspirational for me. But she said that music throughout those hard times kept her going, and she was the one that actually found Coco. Coco's mother is pretty much was a well-known session singer, and started training her at age 3. And she said her mother was tough, but that tough love that she got from her mother has made her a strong vocalist to this day. And it's definitely it's definitely evident because when you hear Coco's voice, Coco has a singing ability that is very rare, and definitely her sound is unique. I mean, when you hear her, that's Coco. I mean, and that's a beautiful quality to have as a musician, that you have that voice that sets you apart from everybody else. And Coco definitely has that voice, which has just centered her being the successful lead singer of SWV, as well as becoming a well-known gospel artist as well. So, she definitely has that golden voice. And then they also talked about, them meeting Taj, Tamara Johnson. And she pretty much had hardships as well. Her father died of cancer when she was 9. Her mom died when she was 14, so she pretty much was left with no foundation. So she literally had to raise herself. And she ended up, living with a boyfriend who was physically abusive. And she even talked about this on the reality show. And, when they was kind of reconnecting about their past, and she had brought it up about being in that situation, and how her confiding in the girls, and the girls kind of like, giving her inspiration, gave her the strength to finally get away from the guy. But yeah, they definitely, they didn't have it easy. Didn't have it easy at all. And pretty much the trio, when the 3 of them got together, they all 3 of them ended up finding a manager, and the woman they found, her name was Maureen Singleton. She became their manager, and what they would do is that they would record demos with her, and what she would do is that she would kind of send them, in these so-called happy birthday boxes, thinking like, oh, this is a birthday box, someone's gonna open it, so. That's their way of getting to all these different record labels, and they shipped them out to some big names, and they were denied. But it actually crossed the desk of Kenny Ortiz from RCA Records. And we actually saw Kenny Ortiz in the reality show, too, because they definitely brought up about, that whole situation between him and Taj. I'm not going to get into it here, but, if you watch the show, you know what I'm talking about. But, pretty much Kenny Ortiz actually got their demo, somehow got across his desk. He heard them. He pretty much arranged for, to actually meet the girls, and he just asked for them to sing on the spot. And they sung the song "Make It Real," which is a song that they really did a lot locally, and they were well known for, because he said that they would slay it every time they sung that song. So when they sang that song, he signed them on the spot, and everything was, started from there. And then the next thing is that they actually hooked up with Brian Morgan, who's their producer. That was also Brian Morgan was the one that was singing with Coco, on the duet "Always on My Mind," my favorite song. So definitely remember Brian Morgan. I mean, guy's amazing. and he's the one that gave SWV their sound. I mean, their sound was very unique, and with Brian Morgan at the helm as their producer, I mean, they created history. And the first song that they released was Right Here, you know, the original track. I definitely remember when that came out. It went 16. It went to number 16 on the R&B charts, and that was released in 1992. And then they also had a conversation where they was talking about, you know, their name. They first wanted to do TLC, Tamara, Leanne, Cheryl. But then they ended up getting a cease and desist letter in the mail, so they know they couldn't have that name. So they developed Sisters with Voices because they said they fight like sisters, but yet their voices bring them together. So their name was pretty much an ordained name because, you know, none of them liked it at first. I mean, especially Coco, she didn't really like the name, but it stuck after a while. And pretty much afterwards they talk about their, you know, because their big debut came out in 1992, you know, with Right Here, and they say they put their sound and their look on the map. And one thing that definitely stood out about SWV, and all of you can attest to this to me, was them Coco nails. Coco had these long ass nails, but they were so unique, and then even when she would hold the mic, the damn nails would literally collapse the whole mic and shit, and she'd just be singing her heart out with them damn nails. You cannot get your eyes off of those nails. I mean, and it turns out her nails were real, and she went to a nail salon that would pretty much a nail salon that she would always go to, and she said it would take 6 hours for her to get her nails done. So her nails definitely was a trendsetter. You know, girls around the way who wear those big nails. I mean, and that's what made them unique because it was like a girl around the way. Like you grew up in a, I wouldn't go say just a hood, but in an urban environment. You know, we definitely have a different flair. We definitely have a different look, and we definitely have our own trends and fashions, you know, within the black community. So when you saw that, you know, that's a girl you would see around the way. That's a girl you would see at high school. That's a girl you would see, you know, at the WEC. You know, she was like that around the way girl. So when you saw that look, you know, being presented, you know, in stream, it was like, yo, this is a big deal. It's like putting who we are on the map and what we created and what we originated as a look on the map. And Coco doing those nails, that definitely was a trend. Because next thing you know, everybody was trying to get the Coco nails. All the girls, you know, in school was trying to get them Coco nails. But yeah, it definitely was unique. But yeah, I definitely remember those Coco nails. Those nails always made me focus on her. Like, what's up with them damn nails? But anyway, not to get too much on the tangent, but yeah, them nails was the shit. The next hit that they came out with was So Into You. It was like a combination of church and hip-hop, and you kind of hear that in that song. Like, you kind of hear that hip-hop, the R&B beat to it, but then you kind of hear, like, church vocals, you know, on that track. You know, the harmonies with all three of them was amazing. And it was pretty much a sample off of P. Bose Bryson's I'm So Into You. And that song actually went to number 2 on the R&B charts, and that song is what put them on the map in a big way. I mean, because that's when they really started getting a lot of radio play. The next song they did, which is definitely one of the classics, when you hear this song, you immediately stop what you're doing, you start singing this song, and it's Weak. You know, Weak at the Knees, I Can Hardly Speak. I mean, that is like the track. I mean, it's definitely a timeless piece, and even to this day it rocks. And like Coco's voice on that song, you know, Coco put something on that song that is still untouchable to this day. You know, her vocal ability on that song and what she brought, you know, as far as her voice, I mean, made that song timeless. And, you know, all three of them really brought something unique with that song because, I mean, I think it's because they were young when they did that song that it is like a youthful song, you know, about that first love or that love where it just makes you weak and you'll do just about anything, even things that you normally wouldn't do because you love that person so much or you're in love with that person so much. And for them to actually captivate that in Weak, and I think that's what makes it such a unique song now, because it has a youth appeal, and it's like young love, and you know, we've all been there, even myself. So I think that's why that song still relates to this day, because there's still young people going through that same type of feeling of feeling weak for someone. So definitely awesome. Their debut album, you know, pretty much went triple platinum. They had multiple award nominations. And they pretty much let's see. And then the next number one was, you remember that song Right Here they did in 1992? Well, Terry Riley did a remix of that song using Michael Jackson's Human Nature, and y'all definitely remember that track, because I would hear that on the radio all the time, and I used to always see the video on BET, VH1, you name it, you know. And that became another, you know, R&B number one hit for them, because that song really got the ear of mainstream, because you had a Michael Jackson sample, but it was like, you know, it became a song in and of itself. Like, it was like their own song, and it was like they made the song their own. And Michael Jackson, who really wasn't big on sampling, but he actually thanked them for using Human Nature, because he said they really made that song their own, and he was a big fan of SWV. So that was really good to know that he was very supportive of them. And another track that was the B-side to Right Here, you know the remix, and also they had let's see, I'm sorry, I'm trying to jump ahead, but then well, the B-side to Right Here was Downtown. Now I don't know what Coco was thinking when she thought that Downtown was about, you know, going shopping downtown. It wasn't about that. It was about, y'all know about, you know, going deep sea diving. Swish. I mean, that's pretty much what Downtown was all about. And that was like a real risky song, and it was very, you know, very sensual, but very clean at the same time. You know, very expressive, but clean. And, you know, Kelly Rowland said that they was about that life, you know, because it was ballsy to sing a song like that. But the song also became a hit, and it's also a song that they're known for, like, Downtown. I mean, you can't, even that song just had its own unique lyrical, you know, way of delivery that just makes that song unique even now. And pretty much they said that, you know, after they started to become more and more huge, and, you know, they definitely started to grow more as a name and as artists, they started to notice that, you know, outside people started to have more influence on the direction of the group. And it was like Coco was being pushed more as the lead singer, where Lily and Tosh were kind of pushed, like, to the back. And, of course, you know, that was going to cause problems, because they were a group. They were a unit. It wasn't just Coco. I mean, Lily has a great voice, and so does Tosh. All three of them are dynamically great singers. But, you know, Coco does have a unique sound that is very rare. I mean, her soprano is crazy, and you also have to know, like, look, her mother is a crazy vocalist as well, and she trained her, you know, daily, and she grew up singing in the church. So Coco definitely has that sound, but then so does Lily, and so does Taj. And instead of them looking at them as a group, they were kind of looking at Coco as Diana Ross, and the other two were like the Supremes, you know, push them back, you know. And they were starting to get that feeling. Lily was especially like, look, I'm the one who started this group. You know what I'm saying? I'm not taking away from Coco by any means, but we're all dynamically talented, and we all should be respected as such. And then also, because of that, they made Coco work more. So Coco was always in the studio. Like, after Lily and Taj would be sent home, they would be bringing Coco back to do more tracks. and to, do more covers and things like that. So they pretty much overworked Coco. Coco was doing pretty much 80% of the work, but they was getting everything equally. But her mother was trying to stress her that, look, you do not let these people take advantage of you, and you need to pretty much fight for what's yours. So what they ended up doing was that, they arranged it where Coco was getting more cut of the royalties out of the group than the two of them, when yet they all felt like they all equally brought something to the group. It wasn't just Coco by herself, so why was Coco getting more money than them? But then again, yeah, they were working Coco more, but still, they should have been getting something equally down the board because it was a group. And since you're the main voices that they're going to use, they're going to overwork you, because that's exactly what they did with Diana Ross. Diana Ross was always in the studio, and it was kind of like the same situation. Like, the person that they see as like the main voice of the group, they're going to work them more. They're going to always, because they're building everything around your voice, and they're building everything around, around you, pretty much. So they're going to be using you more, while just kind of using the other two as just, being a part of the unit. But, they want to make the voice stand out amongst everything, so they're going to constantly work the voice all the time. And it can get crazy, and it can get really messy. And that's exactly what ended up happening to SWV, because it got crazy. And oh yeah, and then afterwards, they actually talk about the song Anything, which was another hot track, and that's still a banger to this day. It was on the Above the Rim soundtrack. And, they actually had, Wu-Tang on the track, and that really set the song off, having Wu-Tang on the track as well as SWV. So you pretty much had, that dynamic R&B with good, with good old hip-hop, surrounding that. It just makes that song timeless as well. And then we also learned that one of the big problems was that, they had their own cliques. Coco had her clique, Lily had her clique, and Taj had her clique. So when you have a situation like that, people are going to plant seeds, which can actually lead to further demise. And initially, that's what ended up happening to them. Because later on, we actually find out that their manager, Maureen Stapleton, had actually arranged for $1 million publishing deal, where they were able to write their own songs as well as change the leads on some of the songs as well. So it made the group more dynamic. And they were good with that, but then they ended up firing her because they felt that she really didn't support the group as far as keeping them as a unit. It was like it was too much diversity amongst them, and too much tension and negativity within the group, and that she didn't do anything to kind of like unite them as a group. It was more she kind of just let them be where they were. And she really felt like jaded in a way, but they pretty much got rid of her. And, they definitely got that publishing deal, because their next album in '96 was New Beginnings. And You're the One was a song that was released, and that's definitely one of my favorite tracks too. Even though the song is about a girl who's being ratchet because she's trying to sleep with this other girl's man, and she's like, yeah, I know you got another woman, but yeah, you're the one for me. So when in need, you can call on me. I got that hookup for you, so come and see me. You know what I'm saying? But that song went #1 and that album went platinum, based mainly off of that song. But then later on, things went left, and things just got even more crazy, for the group. After a while, Kenny Ortiz, the guy, the A&R rep who actually, got them signed to RCA, he eventually severed ties with RCA, so therefore they no longer had him there. So they no longer had someone actually like on the day-to-day fighting and batting for them to get certain things done within the label. So therefore, everything changed with the new A&R. They ended up doing the song Can We with Missy Elliott, which I think was on the Booty Call soundtrack. And they did that song. And then it was like, after a while, they were just kind of like combining them with different hip-hop artists, but it was kind of like they were like their own R&B group. You know, they didn't really need to combine with hip-hop artists to make them relevant. They were relevant within their own right because they had a unique sound. They were, you know, pretty much like one of the pinnacles of 90s. They were the pinnacles of like 90s R&B, and they were being treated as like, okay, we're, you know, in order to kind of make them more mainstream, we're just going to combine it with hip hop artists rather than seeing them as the unique R&B artists that they were, and that they just needed mainstream appeal. But definitely one song, which was by, you know, Brian Morgan, was Rain, and that was like the biggest song off of that third album, you know, and it was their 9th top 10 hit, and sadly that was their last one. And it was pretty much, the funny thing about it was that the only song that really popped off of that album was a song that was with Brian Morgan, who was their original producer. So it was like the original SWV is what people wanted. Even after all of that, them trying to combine them with hip-hop artists, or them trying to do all these extra things, the thing that made them stand out was that unique sound that made them famous, and what made them household names, and what makes them, you know, still, you know, one of our favorite groups of all time. And then after that, tensions and everything even furthermore erupted in the group. You know, it was like Coco. They were saying like Coco had her own management team and all of that, and everybody was just at each other's throats, and to the point where it just got chaotic, where nobody was talking to anybody. There was no communication. Everyone was kind of just to themselves, and then eventually the group disbanded. And they were disbanded for 7 years. And they all pretty much talked that, you know, Coco pretty much, you know, ended up doing a solo project, but it really didn't go anywhere, you know, and she even admits that she missed being with the girls, and that she wasn't ready to be out there by herself, but then later on she ended up becoming a well-known gospel artist, and, you know, that definitely kept Coco going. Lily had it really rough, where she almost committed suicide, but then she found out her sister pretty much helped her to snap back to it, and she realized, like, I'm being so selfish. I got people that love me and people that need me, and she pretty much went back home and started to put her life back together. And Taj, you know, pretty much also had it hard, and she even said that she ended up working as a waitress, you know, for like $9 an hour. But she kept going because she said, I needed to work, you know, I had people to take care of, I had mouths to feed, and yeah, even though I had a setback, you know, it's just going to be a setup for something better. And they talk about her and her marriage to Eddie George, you know, and, you know, they have 3 kids together, and, you know, they have a great relationship. They talk about Coco and her husband. They've been together for 15 years, and he was a drummer when SWV during that heyday, and he said they couldn't stand each other at first because she felt that he was arrogant, and he felt that Coco just talked too much, so they was always butting each other's heads. But then later on, when they got back into church, they ran into each other again, and things took a different direction. And sometimes love happens like that, so it's a beautiful thing. So they pretty much reunited back in 2005, and since then, they've released 2 albums since then, and they're still going strong. And I can honestly say I'm very honored to do a review of SWV, because they're definitely one of my favorite R&B groups of all time, and I still jam to them. So this is my review for Unsung Season 10 SWV. Subscribe to my channel. Leave comments on this video. Share this video. Like this video. You know, I definitely want to hear your feedback. If I missed anything, please put it down in the comments. I would love to talk to you about it. I do respond to all of your messages, and I'll definitely be back with you guys next week for another episode of Unsung. So until then, take care.